The best way to go about buying real estate is something called OPM, other people's money. I always preach this, you need a strong team, right?
Yeah.
But I break the team down into 3 different buckets. So there's an acquisition team, there's a construction team, then there's a property management team.
What's some components to building a team?
So we'll just break it down, right? So who do we need on the acquisition team, right? You know, times are tough, inflation and so forth. So people need housing and the government is willing to pay. There's a way where you can actually use ChatGPT to make investments.
It has to work or it has to work.
It's your host, Nehemiah Davis, and y'all keep asking for more real estate, more real estate, more real estate. So it is only right that I bring back my brother who just went into a foreign real estate market, right? Built a several $million portfolio, didn't know a soul there. So I said, bro, I need you to come really break down this blueprint because I need that out of town money, but I need to know the formula. It got to be a formula that you're doing it. So without further ado, real estate investor, entrepreneur, stock investor, all of the above when it comes to investment. Doug Depte, what's up, bro?
Feeling good, bro. How you feel, man?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Absolutely. Anytime. Glad you had me.
I watched you for years talk about what it takes to build a team in foreign markets. Like and generally you're primarily in Philly and you always will tell people, here's how you do it. Here's how you find this. You went and did exactly. You're not just online coaching people how to get in real estate. You're actually doing it well over a $10 million personal portfolio. And you just went to a foreign market and legit bought how many houses already?
Over 25.
Over 25 houses in a foreign market in under a year. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I think what it comes down to, I always preach this, you need a strong team, right?
Yeah.
But I break the team down into 3 different buckets. So there's an acquisition team. There's a construction team. Then there's a property management team. So when you have these 3 buckets and you really focus and be intentional in building them out, then you can duplicate this process anywhere in the world. Right.
And it's funny, as you said, I know you want to break down. Darius, you say you don't go as far as the dream, you go as far as the team.
Right.
So I know that's support. So 3 buckets, acquisition, property managers the 3rd, and the 2nd is your
construction team. Yeah.
So break down a little bit about each and like essentially how did you do it? You found this market. How did you just discovered the market through your strategies?
So it's funny, right? So there's AI that people are using ChatGPT. There's a way where you can actually use ChatGPT to make investments. So I was literally woke up one morning, I said, you know what? There has to be a market in the world, in the US, where I could find properties that are close to turnkey for under $80,000, where a 3-bedroom is renting for more than $1,300. So I started just diving into ChatGPT. I put the prompt in and I said, give me the top 10 cities where I could find that undervalued property, where I could find the property that's close to turnkey, needs less work, and that rents for that, $1,300 and above. And one of the places was this place in the Midwest where I said, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and double down and focus on this area. And I knew nobody out there. So I had to go ahead and put the play together and really just build the team, just like I've been teaching for years, how to build your team in any market. And that's exactly what I had to do.
Let me ask you, what's some components to building a team? Like how am I finding them on Indeed, Craigslist? What's some strategies on building a team?
So we'll just break it down, right? So the acquisition team is huge. So who do we need on the acquisition team? There's wholesalers, and these are people that are able to go ahead and find a motivated seller. They get the deal under contract, but then they'll go ahead and sell that contract to me, and then they'll take some money in the middle, right? So you gotta build a team of wholesalers. And one of the best ways to find these teams of wholesalers is there's Craigslist, right? So you can search your market on Craigslist. There's people that are posting properties and you're gonna reach out to them, right? I recommend creating a whole separate email address just for your deal flow, right? So you're going on Craigslist. And Facebook, a lot of people are on Facebook, they're just scrolling, they're just liking pictures and wasting their time. But you can actually go on Facebook and be intentional. You can join different real estate groups within the market that you're looking to invest. So for instance, if I'm looking in a market, I'm gonna say, okay, let's say it's Detroit real estate. So we're gonna start there and then we're gonna just drive down in all the different Detroit real estate groups. And now we're going to go ahead and join those groups. And in those groups, we're gonna say, hey, I'm looking to buy single family properties, 3 bedrooms in this zip code. If you guys have something that I'm looking for, reach out to me, DM me, right? So that's one thing, the Facebook groups. You also want to join construction groups in that market that you're searching, right? So now you're going to have access to different contracts, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But so you got your Facebook groups, you have your Craigslist, and of course you're going to go on the MLS as well. There's still good deals, great deals on the MLS, and that's the multiple listing sources. So that's like going on Redfin, your
I saw
Zillow.
you pick up a lot that was 20, 30 grand. I think you got off for like 8 grand on MLS.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. $8 grand. And I actually flipped that lot for $45,000 a couple of years later. Yep.
Purchases for 8 off the MLS, sold it for 45.
Yep. Yeah, that's
Crazy.
what we call a come up.
Yeah, an easy come up.
Yeah. And part of that
you
is
go
like,
develop it, get plans, or you sold it just
I just sold it just the raw land.
So you didn't even do no plans, none of that?
No plan. I just held on to it and just, just like, real estate is a retirement bucket, but it's also assets, right? That's why I preach every single day, you have to own assets, because let's say, for instance, bought something for $8,000. I'd have to pull out my calculator to do the return, but to sell it for $45,000 over, next couple of years, it probably held
like a 500% return?
Yeah, in about 3 years.
So every time, just so I'm clear with Unify, every time so I just went 8, 16, 24, 32, 45. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, and you sold it for 45. Yeah. So that means you're 5Xing essentially what you paid. So
exactly,
every time you sell it for double, that's 100% return on your money, right?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was just off the find of the land. So back to building the team, right? So you got the acquisition team, but also who else do you need? You need a title company. Mm-hmm. You never want to buy a property without a title company, right? I actually just got finished out of court. I won the case. So what I was doing was I was actually buying 4 pieces of land to build 12 units, right? But the title wasn't good. So there was literally a cloud on the title, but the seller wanted to rush me and say, hey, use my title company. Don't worry about the title and so forth. But I knew better. And unfortunately, he held my $25,000 for over 3.5 years.
Wow.
So I finally got rewarded and going to get that money back. But if somebody was novice and didn't have that information, didn't have that knowledge, they literally would have been in a situation where they would have bought the land. We're talking about a $380,000 purchase of these 4 different parcels. Yeah. But the title would have been cloudy. So imagine you building up on a piece of land, and one of the owners that didn't get served properly because it was a tax sale property, didn't get served. They say, you know what? My mother owned that property. She passed away, but I'm the next in line. I'm the heir, and I have rights to your property. Right. So that's why it's so important to have a strong title company. So in your acquisition team, you need that title company, and you also need a lender, right? You have to get funding. The best way to go about buying real estate is something called OPM, other people's money. So it's hard to build a multi-million-dollar portfolio, especially if you don't have a multi-million dollars, right, in your bank account. So what you want to do is you want to use leverage. So some people are like, oh, I'm waiting to buy my first property cash. I bought my first property using FHA, 3.5% down. But if I had to wait to come up with $250,000, I probably would have just been buying my first property, 12 years later. But the best part about it is you're using leverage, you're using OPM. So therefore you need a strong lenders on your team, because you're not going to go far without that, with a strong lender not being on your acquisition team. Yeah. So now that you have those key components, and also you want to make sure that they lend in the area that you're investing in. So once you had those components, I locked up over 25 deals, but they were wholesale deals. They were motivated sellers. They were just, through networking, MLS. So I locked these deals up. And one of the things that I was able to do was I bundled the deals together, right? So I bundled the first clip of, say, 20 properties, and I used a short-term financing to acquire these units. Yeah. Now, mind you, I'm in Philadelphia and I'm ripping roofs off. I'm tearing the back of the houses off. I'm reframing, gutting everything. Yeah. But these properties are basically turnkey as they are. But one thing that I realized was the fact that, I'm a numbers guy. So I realized that the price of these properties, I'm getting them for right around $45,000, $50,000. The value, when I go ahead and do the search within a 1/4 mile radius, there's properties just basically similar conditions selling for $120,000, $125,000. Yeah. So I love that spread. And I know that, having a construction background, I know that these properties only need $5,000 to $10,000 worth of work. So minimum work, we're talking about paint, changing out the light fixtures. And now I can go ahead and do something called forced depreciation and get that value to that 125. So now with the properties on the short term, I'm using something called hard money. Yeah. So with the hard money, they require anywhere between 10 to 20% down on the property.
Let me ask you this just so I'm clear. You said short-term financing. Mm-hmm. When you bundled it up, is that the same as the hard money lending you talking about?
Exactly, right, exactly. Cool. So a lot of times when people are coming into the markets, they run into the issue that the purchase price is too low. right? We're talking about $40,000, $50,000 a property. So one of the ways around that, oh man, I'm giving too much game, man.
This guy don't just talk about it, but he actually do it, right? Go to mastermindwithdoug.com.
Yeah, mastermindwithdoug.com.
Go to mastermindwithdoug.com. Go apply so this guy could be your coach. Go learn everything that he's learning. You can build, it's possible, let me not say that, for you to build a 6 to 7 figure portfolio in a few years, utilizing the information that he talked about. But go, man, you going crazy.
Yeah. So check this out, right? So most lenders, especially short-term lenders, they need the minimum loan amount to be $70,000. So what do you do if the property's only $40,000 and need $10,000 worth of work? Why just get one property? Get two. So now that you have two properties at $40,000 a piece, now it's $80,000 plus your construction might be another $20,000. So now that's $100,000, and that lender is going to require you to put anywhere between 10 to 15 or 20% down. So let's say you bundle that together, total amount is $100,000. So you have to come out of pocket $15,000. Wow. Now you have two properties, and the best part about it is you fix those properties up. You rent them out, Section 8, through the government, partnering with the government.
Guaranteed
but
money.
now you're in a situation where you can get all those initial funds that you put out right back and then some. Yeah. So
I don't know. You just gave a lot. You just dropped the clip on them, bro.
Right.
Golly.
Oh, man. So, so with that, we got the acquisition team. Next is the construction team. And this is very, very important, right? So you can have your project manager. If you know nothing about construction, that's why it's very important to know the stages and steps of the construction process. Because if you're gonna hire or pay somebody, you need to know what's going on. Because oftentimes there's a word, contractors. There's con in their name. So contractors, if you're not paying attention, they will con you. But it's very important that you have an understanding of the steps of construction so you don't get got. So at the end of the day, what we had to do was we had to go ahead and build out contractors in this new area. So that's a major part of your team. Yeah. How'd I find these guys? Yeah. Yes, I did hop on a flight and I went to Home Depot. So I'm in Home Depot, I'm soliciting, right? I'm getting there early in the morning and I'm looking at guys hop out their trucks and say, hey, what do you guys do? They might specialize in electric, plumbing, general contracting. So now I'm actually building my team. And for instance, there was a guy, T. So met up with T and I said, hey, I want to go ahead and see some of your projects, see some of your work, right? This is very important that you actually see the contractor's work and you say, okay, is it a clean work site? Does the work look clean? You can know nothing about construction, but you know what cleanliness looks like, right? If things are in order. So this is why it's very important to, go to Home Depot, but also a step further, you want to go to building supply houses. So if I'm looking for an electrician, why not go to the electrical supply house? Because guess who's going to be there? Electricians going to be there.
And they can refer you somebody.
Right? Because if you work at an electrical facility and you say, hey, I need a recommendation for an electrician, of course they're going to refer you to a guy that's, frequently spending money with them. So if I'm looking for a plumber, where am I going to go? I'm going to go to the plumbing distribution. Looking for a framer, I'm going to go for the lumber yard. So building the construction team, I did have to go to the Home Depot because I'm learning the area. I've got a whole Rolodex of contractors, but also let's say, for instance, if I didn't go to Home Depot, there's something called Facebook again. So you can literally tap into Facebook, you can network into the different investor groups, and now you're in a situation to set yourself up to win and find these contractors. So in addition to Facebook, there's Craigslist and there's Angie's List, there's Thumbtack, where you can find these contractors. And at the end of the day, the strength of your contractor is going to make your process that much easier, especially in a foreign market. But one of the things that people run into is like, okay, how do I not get taken advantage of by a contractor? So it's very important that you always have solid contracts, right? And also another big thing, you never want to give more than half of the money up front.
Contractors running off with the bet. I was just on the phone, bro, before we got here. And this had nothing to do with it, but Carl hired a video person to do something. I'm like, you gave him, I said, yo, why didn't you post a video yet? It was 4 days ago.
Yeah.
No, we quick turnaround with our stuff. I'm like, I said, you gave him all the money? He said, yep. I said, that's
going out of there.
You don't get the money. The other part of the money tell you got with.
Man, listen. Listen, one of the cardinal rules that people make is they give the money to the contractor. They're excited, they're motivated, so they give the contractor all this money. But now guess what? They have no incentive to come back.
Fact.
So you almost have to starve your contractor in a way, right? You got to give them some breadcrumbs. You want that contractor calling you for payment versus the other way around, like, hey, I'm on the job site, you're not here, where you're at. So that's one of the big things in having that contract, and especially if somebody's just doing labor, there is no need for you to basically give them any money up front. If anything, I'm gonna give them some money at the end of that first day. But if I give you some money up front just for labor, there's literally no incentive for you to come back. So let's say, for instance, you have a $100,000 contract, right? Construction job. And you give the contractor 50% up front. That's $50,000, right, of your hard-earned money. So if a contractor just gets $50,000 without doing any work, without even showing up, without even putting his tools in your project, some of these contractors are going to run off with that $50,000, right? And say, you know what, catch me if you can. Yeah. So now you got to go ahead and get a lawyer, you got fees, you might have a loan on that project and your project is getting delayed and now you're stuck and you're short $50,000. So building your construction team is very, very major.
You got messed up when you got out of the game. We don't got to go into the whole story, but you almost was out of the game by doing this.
Man, listen, so I usually, get loans and so forth, but a contractor / wholesaler, he convinced me to go ahead and use my own cash because, I was saving up money, living in my garage, working a 9 to 5, like just parking all my money. But bought this property in North Philadelphia for $25,000. So I paid the $25,000 cash. Of course, I went through a title company, but then the construction was $75,000. And they came in, they did the demo fast. These guys are working. I'm excited. This is my first time doing a full gut renovation. So I'm excited. He's like, yo, we got to keep these guys moving, keep them moving. So what I noticed was I was just handing them cash, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. And I basically gave them about $65,000 of cash, and we're just in the framing stage. So guess what happened after that? The project slowed up. We're talking about 2 years of just hearing excuse after excuse after excuse. Some of the excuses were crazy. Like, this is back when the Pope was in Philadelphia. This was back when they had Big Tank weekend. I said, hold, a Big Tank? Who is Big Tank, and what's he got to do with my project in the hood of North Philadelphia? Yeah. So, it was this birthday, that birthday. So I was actually, like, my account was on E, bro. Yeah. My account was rock bottom, but I knew that I needed real estate in order to get free because I'm hugging a cubicle for 70 hours a week. I'm grinding, working this job, living in my garage. So I needed real estate. So I had to think outside the box. I had to get creative, right? This is where creative financing came in, and I had to add it to my tool belt. So now I had to get crafty on how can I continue to buy real estate even with my cash depleted. So that's when I got creative in terms of, business funding, business lines of credit cards and such. And now I'm able to teach on that simply because I had to go through that and my account was on E and I had to keep buying real estate in order to set myself free. I had to figure it out. Yeah. Yep.
That's correct. So phase 1, we just did that. Phase 2, I keep missing phase 2.
Yeah, building construction team.
That's phase 1, right?
No, so phase 1 is the acquisition team.
Oh, we already built that.
Yeah, we built the
construction team too now.
So the construction team, we're going to Home Depot. We're finding the general contractor. We're finding the subcontractors.
Now we're on phase 3.
Right, and that's going to be the property management side of the business.
Talk about it.
So property management is huge, right? So with property management, this is basically...
Before I do this, I want to say this because you always tell me, how many backups do we hire on each? So I know you talk about the subs, you got an electrician, you got all these different phases, plumbing, HVAC. How many am I only hiring one of each, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So when it comes to building your construction team, and I have a whole file broken down where you can actually have a list of all your contractors, their contacts, and their ratings, right? And the reason why we want these rating system as well as their contact information is because we just don't want to rely on one demo person. We just don't want to rely on one sheetrocker or just one floor guy, one electrician. Because what happens if they're busy? Then also what happens if they know that you're completely relying on them? What they're going to do is they're going to juice the price on you. You can't keep them honest. So this is why it's very important to have 3 of each, right? So you need 3 electricians, 3 plumbers, 3 framers, right? You need these crews because 1, they can get busy. 2, you're going to bid them out. I always recommend getting bids. Just don't take your first price because oftentimes people are paying astronomical. Like for instance, I had a wealth tour and a guy, he was in the real estate. He was already 20 properties deep. And he's like, Doug, I just paid $12,000 for one HVAC system for electric and for air conditioning and heating.
Got him.
12,000. I said, 12,000? I'm paying 4,500.
Yeah.
So what do you mean 4,500? This is one unit. I said, yeah, for this whole building, right? I'm paying only like $12,000, $13,000.
Wow.
So he immediately was like, his eyes was open, but that was because he wasn't getting bids. He didn't know the cost of materials, didn't know the average cost of labor and so forth. But that's something so simple as that. And he's been in the game for, we're talking about 20 units deep at that time.
You don't know what you don't know, though.
You don't know what you don't know. So even if you already have some real estate, you might be buying one property at a time, 2 properties a year, right? There's always something you don't know. 100%. And that's why it's so important to have mentorship where you can actually scale up, right? We're talking about, 25 properties in less than 6 months, right? That's something that anybody could do, but they need that specialized knowledge.
Yeah, you can't wing that.
You can't wing it.
I even remember like this, you was probably in the game well over 5-6 years or probably longer. Yeah. And you discovered the extra bedroom play.
Oh my gosh. The extra bedroom play, bro.
And people have no clue even what that is. Man, and that crap is printing extra bread.
Printing. So we'll get to that in a second. Yeah, so we're building that construction team. You got to have the property management. You got to have the contractor, the subcontractors. You have to have contracts in place. You need a lawyer on your team for sure. And then you need to know the stages of construction, right? But then getting over to property management, which is huge. This is where you're going to actually manage your property. So you can either hire a property manager. Typically, they charge anywhere between 5 to 10% of the gross revenue coming in. Yeah. So if you have $1,200 going out, and they're charging you 10%, they're taking $120 off the top, right? So I negotiated with my property manager at the time, 5%, but I've been managing my properties. Starting out, I was managing my properties. And for 2 years, I hired a property manager. But what I realized very quickly was that many people can't manage properties as well as I can. So what I did was I actually used virtual assistants, right? So I went on onlinejobs.ph, and you could actually hire people with college degrees, property management experience. We're talking about anywhere between $2.75 to about $4 an hour. So now you can have them running your property management company. So as you're building and scaling your empire, that 10% that you're saving, let's say if you got $100,000 coming in every single month. So instead of $10,000 going out to a property management company, now that $10,000 is going in-house, and now you're only paying less than $1,000 for your virtual assistant staff. And now you go ahead and hire the maintenance people because you already built your construction team that go handle maintenance and so forth. But now you're able to save $10,000 for every $100,000 of revenue you have coming in. Yeah. So that's one of the major things is that property management company. But also when it comes to property management, you want somebody that's able to specialize in renting out properties through the government. Yeah. Ooh. That's good. So like
you your VA that too?
Yeah, yep. So they're going through the process. They're going on affordablehousing.com, right? They make sure they have their premier membership and they're posting and boosting our listings, like clockwork. Every 24 hours, they're boosting the listings. They're reaching out to prospects and they're going through the process of screening them to get them to the showing. And then once they're at the showing, they're able to go ahead and fill out the voucher and submit it to the necessary parties. So that way we actually get on the government payroll, right? So that's one of the things that I take pride in is having that Section 8 portfolio and partnering with the government because at the end of the day, the government does not miss. And there's a huge need right now for affordable housing, right? Times are tough, inflation and so forth. So many people need affordable housing. The waiting list is huge. In some places, the waiting list is 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, right? So people need housing and the government is willing to pay.
And it's so funny. I remember you referencing, literally a VA built that side of the business. You went to her wedding in Philippines.
Yeah. You said
that'd have probably been a heavy salary if it wasn't somebody in the office working every day, benefits and.
We're talking about a salary of, let's call it $6,000 to $7,500, with bonus and so forth for the year.
For the year.
Opposed to in the States, you might have to pay somebody $80,000 to do that job.
Wow. Yeah. And they pumping too.
And they're humping. They're working around the clock. Yeah. They're on
top
go.
Of it.
Right, exactly. Matter of fact, it's 8:30, so they actually just, while I'm here on this podcast, they're already working on tenants, handling maintenance issues and so forth.
So you don't even got to think about it.
Don't have to think about it. It's running like clockwork.
Wow. Bro, it's so funny, man. It's just that book, 4 Hour Work Week, bro. Yeah. And he used to break down this VA stuff. Yeah. Like I'm actually going back to that. Yeah. Like I got beside myself. I feel like with all this hiring and stuff.
Right.
they're efficient in Philippines and these other countries.
We're talking about master's, doctorate degrees working for $4 an hour, $5 an hour.
And here's the thing, it's a good wage in their country.
In their country,
so
they're living like kings.
You trying to get over on somebody.
Listen, I went to a wedding, they had a nicer wedding than me.
Crazy.
I said, wow, this is crazy. You know, they did the open bar and everything, man.
So, man, they could build a team. And the final thing, man, I just really wanted, the people was asking for a refresher, bro. I feel like you came on here, you legit broke down how to go build a 7-figure portfolio in another market, from construction team to property management team to hard money lenders, short-term financing.
Yeah.
And the final piece is Section 8, bro. Why in these times is this so important right now?
Right.
Because people, I remember, people used to come at you, Section 8, now they hitting you up about, bro.
Oh, man, it's like, how does Section 8 work again, bro? Yo, so during the pandemic, guess what happened? A lot of people were unable to pay their rent. And still to this day, we're seeing the aftermath of the pandemic where people are in bad financial situations, they're unable to pay their rent. Evictions are at an all-time high, right? And however, there's also people that, you know, are simply just can't afford rent. Rent has exploded, right? So like we're talking about places in Philadelphia where rent was once $650, $800 is now $2,200 on the same block, right? So most people can't afford that. Therefore, Section 8, the government, they actually can afford it. So now we're in a situation where we partner with the government and the government is paying the majority of their rent. And there's different ways to screen your tenants where you can actually pick the tenants where the government is footing the majority of that bill, right? And a lot of people have the misconception like, oh, Section 8 is going to destroy my property. The government might not pay and so forth. But in actuality, right, most people don't want to get kicked off the Section 8 program.
That's a fact.
They've been in that waiting list for years and years and years. We're talking about 5 years, 10 years on that waiting list. So they do not want to do anything to get kicked off of. Matter of fact, like, why would you want to do something, get kicked off a program where you only have to pay $50 to live when rent is $2,200, $2,500, right? So that's one thing. Then also, Section 8 typically increases every year, right? So you have something called the FMR rents, the fair market rents, and you can go to HUDuser.gov. You can look up any county, any city across America, and you can see exactly what Section 8 is willing to pay for a studio, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom property. So now you can actually do your analysis and do your calculation before you actually buy a property. So oftentimes people want to jump into the game of real estate. They don't understand the numbers. They just love the property, love the deal. However, the numbers don't make sense. And I'm a numbers guy. And, you know, I got the senior financial analyst. I got the finance degree from University of Delaware, all that good stuff. But I like to break the numbers down in ways where people that aren't numbers people can understand. So this is why we have the 65% rule calculator. This is why we have the evaluation template, right? Where people can literally plug in the numbers. I got all that in the program, right? And this is why people like with, for instance, there's Nicole. She has a nursing degree, knew nothing about real estate. She's been in the program probably for about a little 6 to 7 months, right? But she's already working on her 4th property. She's already refinancing 3 of those properties, getting her money back, renting them out Section 8. So she's following the blueprint to a T in Baltimore. I never invested anything in Baltimore, right? However, that's a wide open market and she's from the DMV, but she took the same exact principles and applied them to Baltimore. Now she's taking it and running it, right? If you follow her Instagram page, she's already looking for door number 5. I think her goal is like 8 properties before the year's out. Wow. So it's just something where having that information and knowledge and being able to duplicate it puts you in a situation to win and win forever.
Bruh, fire, bro. Let everybody know where they can tap in with you at that.
All right, so you find me on Instagram, Doug Depte. That's D-O-U-G, and my last name is Depte. It's like the abbreviation for department with the E at the end. So it's D-E-P like Peter, T like Tom, E like Eddie. Doug Depte on Instagram. Follow my YouTube, Doug Depte as well. But I'm around and I'm just here to help as many people get into the game of real estate, right? I've been helping people for the last 8 years build portfolios.
Wow, listen y'all, man, one of the main reasons why I'm in real estate is because of him. A lot of the principles, a lot of the things you taught me, they're actually transferable to a lot of the other stuff I do. Is like ask for 3 prices, get multiple people. Is that the best you can do? I'm taking all of those things and putting them in a whole nother game. So appreciate that. So guys, if y'all tapping in, make sure y'all follow Doug. Go to mastermindwithdoug.com and we'll see you on the next show. Peace.
Let's get it.